Now, The Munsters is a film that I thought, was unfairly criticized. And it was funny because when I found out, who was cast in it, about a
Yeah.
week or two after that, I was talking to Dan Roebuck.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, I've interviewed him so many times. We've kind of become, kind of pretty friendly.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and I told him, that when I heard that it was you and Sherry, as the two leads, that I love Lords of Salem.
Yeah.
And I thought you two had a great chemistry, and I felt like that would carry over to the Munsters, and I was right. But how do you feel about the whole experience, making the film, the way it was received, etc.?
So just off from the beginning, I think you said it, the maybe the reception. I mean, and yeah, obviously Dan will tell you the same thing. It was just unfairly, they just took pot shots at it before it even came out, and it was insane. And you know how the internet can be a black hole, and sometimes they get more hits if they're negative than positive. So before it even came out, they went after Rob, and they tend to do that anyway. I don't know why, but yeah, no, I mean, it was a complete gift to me. It was such a bleak time during COVID and the shutdown and everything.
Mm.
And yeah, we went over there, and against all odds, we made something that we were all very proud of. We were trying to honor the show, especially Rob. He's a big fan, so is Dan, obviously,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And yeah, we just wanted to make it work the best we could under the circumstances, and we did. And it was with a really cool crew in Budapest. I mean, when you're working with like a Rob Zombie, he's just an inspiring guy. He has his hand in every detail of it, so there's nothing negative I could bring out of it because you're just inspired by the guy all the time. I don't know. It's just he knows what it is. He, like you just said, it's about performances. He likes character actors. He knows that's what draws you into the film. And so yeah, I'm always honored that he asked me to be involved, and he's a great collaborator, and he's just a great friend. He's been really good. And Sherry's, yeah, her and sometimes you just have some magic on screen, and I've been very happy with everything we've done. And she's turned the camera on, she's completely focused, and we've played a number of different characters, 31, Three from Hell, all of it. And I always enjoy when I'm going to be working with her because I know she's all in. So yeah, I feel really honored about the whole thing. It's weird too because afterwards you go to these conventions because right now it's the number one rewatched one of the number one rewatched shows on Netflix. People love that movie, and yet I find out about it at the conventions, and people come up to me and go, "I just, my kid watches this all the time, or I watch it," and yeah, it's great. I mean, you can't complain at all about that, right?
Well, not at all. I mean, it's funny because all these people, a lot of people that I knew that were just like, "Oh, I'll never watch it," blah blah blah, ended up watching it and said, "Hey, I liked it."
Yeah,
It's just they got to shut their mouths and give it a try. I mean, that's pretty much.
yeah, and even people are saying, "Well, he can't be Fred Gwynn." Well, I'm like the sixth Herman Munster or eighth or whatever. It's not like I'm not trying to steal anything from anybody. I was just
Yeah.
trying to, I'm not an impressionist, unfortunately, so I'm not going to give them exactly what they want. But this was also supposed to be, pre Herman Munster TV show. It's like when he was just invented, and he's younger, and it's young love and all that. So I thought we pulled it off.
Yeah, you guys did a great job. Don't
Thanks.
listen to the
Yeah.
internet.
Uh, yeah, I can.
But because of your association with Rob Zombie and a lot of the genre work you've done, you're starting to become like a pretty, beloved figure in the community. Is that something you've embracing, or is it something you want to move away from? You don't want to be typecast? What type?
Yeah, I mean, you're always appreciated. I mean, when you get appreciated by these fans, I mean, the horror fans are the most loyal, passionate people I've ever met. And they'll rewatch the film over and over, and they like physical media. And so no, I'm always surprised when somebody knows my lines better than I ever did when I was on the set. I mean, it's been great. And you never know what's gonna hit. There'll be a TV show that I had a bit part on and people remember it, or these commercials. I do a lot of commercials, and I never realized that was going to be as big as it was, you know? So you never know. You never
Yeah.
know. So
Oh,
yeah.
Kirsten Baja, it wasn't the first project you've directed. You kind of did some shorts, videos, and a previous feature. Can you talk about those a little bit and what you learned from that and how you applied it to Baja?
Well, the first, I mean, I've done a lot of shorts. I've done a lot of music videos and whatnot, and so I guess I've crafted these projects based on efficiency, no budget, use what I have on these shorts. When I did the feature, it was a bigger production, but I didn't have the support of the producers that I could have had, and it went awry because of that. They had a different vision, and I didn't have director's cut. So it ended up turning into an ugly mess at the end, and they didn't understand what we were trying to make. But I learned from that. So that's why when we made this, I made it with a bunch of friends. They all understood. We wrote something we could pull off. We wrote, it's the Robert Rodriguez method, where you wrote all your locations, your actors, your props, and you crafted it and you designed it around what you had or
Mm.
what you have, and you try to make it work. And that's what we did on this one. So yeah, I mean, I learned on those smaller projects. I learned that something I didn't want to do on the bigger project, and this one just happened to like fall into place because I surrounded myself with like-minded people and a bunch of friends.
With Kirsten Baja, it was kind of a mashup of some different genres. I had horror, thriller, crime noir. What inspired you to explore this particular story?
Well, I've always been a huge fan of the B movies. Those are the movies that inspired me as a kid. I remember watching the creature features and movies on Svengoolie and those type of movies. And the history of the B movie is like they didn't have as much money. They didn't have the big stars. Their shooting schedules were smaller. It was all the genre films like westerns and sci-fi and horror and crime. And so I just there was a couple things I wanted to try to blend, and it was the crime and the horror. And so I thought we could pull it off, push the narrative, make it efficient, and then just keep the audience interested in it. And I happen to have a chupacabra costume, so that made it easier too, I guess.
That works out. The film kind of plays out non-linear in a very like calculated, meticulous manner. When you were writing the script, did you write it that way, or was that something you like incorporated later on, or in editing, or anything like that?
Well, I did write it to be nonlinear, and the main character has these film loops or these images or these premonitions going through his head. So I knew that, and I knew I had the footage that I was going to use. I ended up pushing it further with the editor, Mark Cohen, this guy I've worked with for a long time, as we edited it. So when it came down to shooting this particular film, because of our limited amount of budget, I had a DP friend who extremely generous, but he was working, and he would just tell me when he was able to work or not. So we'd have a weekend here, a few days here, or I'd call him up. I go, I have this actor. Can you come for an afternoon? And he would show up. So yeah, we would shoot in bits. It lasted over like 4 months. But during that time, I was editing it together with my editor. So I could kind of see if there was a piece of the puzzle missing.
Hmm.
And then we would craft it and put it in there and kind of like work it around. So it did evolve, but it was written like that. I ended up pushing it more, and I ended up finding some other footage I wasn't planning on using. So yeah, I think it came together, and I think it's a trippy, unpredictable film, I hope.
Oh yeah, definitely it was. Without giving too much away, can you talk a bit about your character Pirelli and his journey?
All right. So he's basically a broken man, an ex-soldier, an ex-lawman, an ex-convict, ex-junkie, and he's basically back in the real world trying to take his path on the straight and narrow and try to keep focused, and then he gets drawn back into this cycle again that was his downfall in Mexico. So he thinks he's going to redeem himself, he thinks he's going to right his wrongs, and then he ends up, finding out elsewhere. You'll find out as you watch the movie, like where he spins out, I guess.
Well, the whole the movie had like a lot of fresh faces. They brought the characters to life. Can you talk about the casting process?
Well, so I knew there's probably like 25, 30 people, and it just could be voices and stuff in this film. And I knew everyone except for two people. So I've been doing this a long time. So I just know a lot of actors.
Mhm.
And I have done a lot of theater in the past, and I brought in a lot of those people, and those people have extensive filmic backgrounds, from everything from There Will Be Blood, The Fight Club, The River's Edge, a bunch of films. So Dark Shadows, a TV show. Like I was able to draw from this vast group of very talented people. And as long as I was being respectful and say, hey, I just need you for an afternoon, or I need you 2 days, then it worked out. There was this young man, Finnegan Seeker Bell, who's the kid
Mhm.
Pirelli goes to get. I've known him since he was a baby. So that footage, the Super 8 footage, I shot this of him when he was a kid. So some of this footage
Yeah.
is like 20 years old. And I knew I was going to use him. Robin Lee is another person, the woman that plays his mother. I shot her with my friend Mark Fight. I knew this was going to be one of those friends and families type passionate
Mhm.
project. And so everyone, Conejo was this rapper who Finnegan happens to know, because Finnegan is actually a rapper in Mexico. So he turned me on to him. Dan Bell, his casting person, and an old friend of mine from theater, he helped me out with finding Jace Lee, the woman, the love interest of Finnegan, and I think she's a star on the rise. She shows up everywhere in commercials and stuff, and she's just a really focused young actress that I think she has a future. I don't know. All these other people I knew, and they're just, Michael Seamus Wiles, Barry Del Sherman, like Jackie Wright. These are all people that you go, wow, they're character people. I hope I see more of them, and you have seen them. You don't even know it.
Yeah, the cool thing, I watched the movie last night finally, and the cool thing was I like, or it was 2 nights ago, but it's the way a lot of independent, low budget films, the acting isn't always good across the bar. You can tell who's weak and whatever. But this cast was really good. Everyone was on point the entire film.
I'm very lucky. I have some really talented actor friends and that's why I cast them. Because again, it's a Rob Zombie thing. I know it's about the performance, even on a low budget. A camera can go out of focus or something can happen, but if the performance is there, you're gonna stay with it.
Yeah,
You're gonna lock in. So I
and
got lucky.
yeah. I mean, you had Barbara Crampton in a minor role. Can you talk a little bit about the issue
Barbara
you translated to that?
Crampton, she's a good friend, and that was one part of the puzzle I didn't have, and I started realizing that maybe you needed to know more about him up front. And I had this voice in my head that I wanted to use, and she was a voice I kept thinking of, and I asked her, and she's all in. She's just a huge supporter of indies, and just a sweet friend, and just a really good human being. So again, I'm very fortunate to have some friends like this, and she's just a great person.
Yeah, I mean, she's a legend, really. I mean,
Yeah, that's another one. I didn't say Reanimator. That was another movie that, on the list of some of these people. It's pretty
yeah, yeah.
amazing.
Now, when working on a film with a limited budget, were there any sacrifices you had to make in order to get it all to all come together and work?
Again, we designed it knowing what we had, and the locations we had, and the time constraints, and the little money we had. So nothing was that crazy. We raised a little money at the end to cover some stuff like the special effects. Um, a lot of practical effects, which I'm a big fan of. Um, Especially in these type of movies. And this guy I happened to work with in a commercial. He turned me into a Cyclops on some commercial or something. But he has this huge studio and he has these shelves of all these prosthetics and these gags and these blood gags. And I just went around and I go, can we use that? Can we use this? And he's just like, yeah, yeah. And there's a blow up stomach or this or that. And so Jim Ojala is his name, and he came through, and he's just, again, I got lucky. He was game, and he likes those type of movies, and he actually came up. I think he did Lloyd Kaufman. I think he started doing stuff with him in the
Oh,
beginning.
nice.
So he understood what we were trying to go for, but at the same time he delivered like a hearty, bloody, gags and really realistic looking stuff. So he was great. Big asset.
Nice. Um, what do you hope audiences will take away from the film, and when can they expect to see it?
You'll see it on 10/29, and I hope they just, I mean, they won't know this, but if you do any research, or if you get the DVD or Blu-ray, which comes out in December, I'm not sure when, but it's just a group of friends that wanted to pull this off, and we wanted to make a trippy, unpredictable, entertaining movie that, I mean, we're extremely proud of, and we pulled it off, and I hope I hope it finds an audience with the late night viewers and cult film enthusiasts like I was as a kid, and the kind of movies that I dug. So I mean, that's all we can hope for. I mean, it's just a trippy ride to take, and we're proud of it. So yeah,
As you should be. I guess I had a good time with it. I really enjoyed it.
thank
So
you.
I wish you the best of luck with it.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, yeah, we'll see. And I'm doing this screening 10/15, the 15th of October in Chicago. I don't know when this will air, but it's great to see it with a live audience. It's been a gas. We did it here in Los Angeles, and we did it in London at Fright Fest, and it was just so much fun. You don't realize that nowadays with streaming, how cool it is with an audience.
Yeah.
So we've gotten that a few times, and it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot for your time. And like I guess said, great luck with the film. Hopefully it finds its audience as it should.
Yeah.
And
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
anytime you have something to promote, feel free to get in touch. I'd always love to help people, working in indie film.
Thank you. And again, it's coming out the 29th streaming, and in the beginning of December, I gotta get this, is like the first or second week of December, DVD, Blu-ray, and we're talking about doing a vinyl too with a pretty cool group of people.
Oh, awesome.
Composer David Val, he goes by Val.
Mhm.
Really talented guy. He's just like a mad scientist of sounds and whatnot. And so we put some clips together, and it sounds really amazing. So if you're into that too, the
Oh,
soundtrack, it'll be out there.
that's my thing. I love soundtracks, vinyl soundtracks.
Yeah, this is good. I mean, we were excited. I didn't realize how cool we were gonna pull it off, but it's gonna be great. So thank you.
All right. Thanks again. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kirsten
Take care.
Baja.